Egypt was never separate from Africa, and the evidence is everywhere. The lifeblood of ancient Egypt, the mighty Nile River, flows from the heart of Africa. Its waters, originating in the highlands of Ethiopia and the Great Lakes of East Africa, have nourished Egyptian civilization for millennia. This geographic reality alone ties Egypt inextricably to the African continent. But the connections run far deeper than just waterways. Trade routes crisscross the Sahara, linking Egypt to sub-Saharan cultures long before the rise of the pharaohs. Gold from Nubia, ivory from the savannas, and exotic animals from the depths of the continent all found their way to Egyptian markets. These economic ties fostered cultural exchange, blending influences from across Africa into the tapestry of Egyptian society. Genetic studies have shattered the myth of Egypt's isolation, revealing deep ancestral connections to other African populations. A groundbreaking 2017 study published in Nature analyzed DNA from ancient Egyptian mummies, finding significant shared ancestry with other Northeast African populations. This genetic evidence confirms what many scholars have long argued: Egyptians were and are fundamentally African. The bonds between Egypt and Nubia, its southern neighbor, were particularly strong. Nubian pharaohs ruled Egypt during the 25th dynasty, bringing their own artistic styles and religious practices to the throne. The pyramids of Meroe and Sudan stand as testament to this shared cultural heritage. Echoing the grand monuments of Giza but with their own distinct flair, this wasn't a conquest, but a natural evolution of interconnected African kingdoms. Language, too, tells the story of Egypt's African roots. Ancient Egyptian belongs to the Afro-Asiatic language family, which includes numerous other African tongues. Coptic, the descendant of ancient Egyptian, still used in Christian liturgy, shares grammatical features with languages spoken across North and East Africa. These linguistic ties bind Egypt to the broader tapestry of African communication and thought. Perhaps the most visible evidence of Egypt's African identity lies in its art. Temple walls and tomb paintings depict Egyptians with a range of skin tones, from light brown to deep ebony. The famous bust of Nefertiti, often whitewashed in popular imagination, shows distinctly African features when viewed without bias. Animals like giraffes, leopards, and hippos, creatures of the African savanna and jungle, feature prominently in Egyptian symbolism and religious iconography. So why has the myth of Egypt's separation from Africa persisted for so long? The answer lies in centuries of colonial narratives and modern misconceptions. European scholars, steeped in racist ideologies, couldn't reconcile the grandeur of Egyptian civilization with their preconceived notions of African capability. They constructed elaborate theories of foreign invasions and lost races to explain away the obvious truth that Africans built one of the world's greatest civilizations. This colonial mindset didn't vanish with the end of empires. Hollywood depictions, sensationalized documentaries, and even some academic works continued to portray ancient Egyptians as somehow separate from their African neighbors. But the evidence, geographic, genetic, cultural, and artistic, tells a different story. The Nile, that great highway of African commerce and culture, didn't just flow through Egypt. It connected the land to the very heart of the continent. From the lush Nile Delta to the cataracts of Aswan, the river shaped Egyptian life and linked it to the broader African world. Satellite imagery and hydrological studies have revealed ancient river channels stretching deep into the Sahara, showing how a greener past facilitated even greater connections across the continent. Genetic research continues to refine our understanding of ancient Egyptian ancestry. While the 2017 Nature study was groundbreaking, ongoing work is painting an even more nuanced picture. DNA analysis of living populations across North Africa and the Middle East is revealing complex patterns of migration, and admixture over millennia. These studies consistently show that Egyptians share significant genetic heritage with other African groups, particularly those in Northeast Africa. The Nubian connection goes beyond just the 25th dynasty. Archaeological evidence shows centuries of cultural exchange, with Egyptian and Nubian artifacts found side by side in tombs and settlements along the Nile. The ancient city of Kerma in Sudan rivaled early Egyptian centers in sophistication, suggesting parallel development rather than one-way influence. Later, the kingdom of Kush would adopt and adapt Egyptian hieroglyphs, creating their own written language that blended African and Egyptian traditions. Linguistic analysis reveals even more fascinating connections. The ancient Egyptian word for south, Taseti, literally means land of the bow, a clear reference to the Nubian archers renowned throughout the ancient world. Loan words from other African languages pepper ancient Egyptian texts, hinting at the complex web of cultural and economic ties that bound the region together. Art tells perhaps the most compelling story of Egypt's African identity. The famous Namr palette, one of the earliest examples of Egyptian royal iconography, shows the king wearing distinctly African regalia. The crowns of Upper and Lower Egypt themselves, the white hejit and red deshret, have parallels in traditional headgear from across the continent. Even the iconic Egyptian Sphinx may have African roots, with similar lion-human hybrid figures found in older Nubian art. The persistence of the separate Egypt myth in the face of overwhelming evidence speaks to the power of ingrained narratives. Colonial-era Egyptology, often driven by a desire to claim the glories of Egypt for European civilization, systematically downplayed or ignored African connections. This distorted view was then perpetuated through education systems, popular media, and even some museum displays well into the 20th century. Challenging these entrenched ideas isn't about attacking any particular group or diminishing Egypt's unique achievements. It's about reclaiming a more accurate, holistic view of African history. Egypt wasn't an anomaly or an outlier. It was an integral part of a vibrant, interconnected African world. Recognizing this doesn't diminish Egypt's greatness. It enhances our understanding of the entire continent's rich heritage. The evidence for Egypt's African identity is everywhere, in the waters of the Nile, the genes of its people, the words of its language, and the images on its monuments. It's time to embrace this reality and celebrate the full spectrum of African achievement. By doing so, we gain a richer, more nuanced understanding of human history and the incredible diversity of African civilizations. Africa's history is whole. Let us keep it that way. Subscribe to continue exploring the true story of Egypt and its place in the African tapestry.